Well, hello and welcome. I'm Miss Heard with Miss Heard Song Lyrics Podcast. We're in Season 6, Episode 268. And the Miss Heard song lyric is, "Bake me a pie of love." And then the correct lyrics is, "Bring me a higher love." You guessed it. It's our first ever Miss Heard song lyric for Steve Winwood. So, I don't know about you, but Steve Winwood is one of those artists of the past that I didn't really have an understanding of how talented an artist he is, because he's still with us, back in the mid-'80s and probably now. I try to sing some of his songs today in karaoke, and his range is crazy. It's a high tenor and very soulful, and I thought, oh, it should be easy. No, not easy. So I wanted to do this Higher Love. It's a 1986 song by Steve Winwood, who is English, and was the first single released on his fourth solo album back in 1986. So Back in the High Life, that's the name of the album. And also there's a song, Back in the High Life Again. So 86, I was a mere 14. So old enough to know better, but just didn't realize again how talented his voice is. So let's talk about him a bit. So he was born Stephen Lawrence Winwood, English musician, songwriter, and they say most of the genres he's included is blue-eyed soul. I've talked about that in previous episodes where, you know, if you didn't see the singer, you would think this person was of color and actually blonde hair, blue-eyed, or something blue-eyed. So that's what he's part of. Rhythm blues, blues rock, and pop rock. He, I did not realize, was primarily a guitarist, keyboard player, and vocalist prominent for his, again, distinctive, soulful, high tenor voice. He actually plays other instruments capably, including drums, mandolin, bass, and saxophone. So very musically inclined. And he actually achieved fame really early. During the 1960s and 70s, he was part of a member of three major bands. First, from 1964 to 1967, he was part of the Spencer Davis Group, for some of you old enough to remember that. From 1967 to 1969, he was with Traffic, and must have left a bit and came back from 1970 to 74 with Traffic. And then that's where he went. So for 1 year, he went with a band called Blind Faith in 1969. That's why there was a hiccup there with Traffic. And then I learned about him during the 80s. That's when his solo career really did well. And he had a number of hits, including 1980s While You See a Chance from the album Arc of a Diver, and Valerie from 1982 from Talking Back to the Night. Apparently, Valerie became a hit when it was re-released with a remix from Winwood's 1987 compilation album called Chronicles. And then in 1986, what I talked about earlier was his album called Back in the High Life. That's where he hit big with his soul career. He had Back in the High Life Again, The Finer Things, and of course the song we're talking about today, US Billboard Hot 100 #1 hit, Higher Love. He also found the top of the Hot 100 again with 1988's Roll With It. You better roll with it, baby. Yeah, that's another good one too, very soulful, from the album Roll With It. And also with Don't You Know What the Night Can Do. Oh my God, there's so many songs, I totally forgot. He is so good. And Holding On, also charting highly that same year. And interesting, once the 80s were done, so did his success with hits. He continues to release new albums up to 2008's called 9 Lives, and his latest album was released by then. So let me talk about his accolades. There's a lot. He was included and inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of Traffic in 2004. And then in 2005, Winwood was honored as a BMI icon at the annual BMI London Awards for his, quote-unquote, enduring influence on generations of music makers. Very true. In 2008, Rolling Stone actually ranked Winwood number 33 on the list of 100 greatest singers of all time. That's pretty big. He's also won 2 Grammy Awards. He was also nominated twice for a Brit Award for Best British Male in 1988 and in 1989. And then most recently in 2011, he received the Ivor Novello Award from the British Academy of Songwriters, Composers, and Authors for Outstanding Song Collection. What about his early life? So he was actually born way back on May 12, 1948. Probably a Taurus, I'm guessing, in Handsworth, Birmingham, and his father, Lawrence, was a foundry man by trade. Was also a semi-professional musician. That's where he gets his musically inclined traits. His father played mainly the saxophone and clarinet. And then Winwood, that's interesting, last name Winwood, and Winwoods. Did you get that? Especially with the dad. Anyway, began playing piano at the age of 4 while interested in swing and Dixieland jazz, and soon started playing drums and guitar. He was also a choir boy at St. John's Church of England, and then he also had his family move from Handsworth to Atlantic Road, King's Standing, Birmingham, for those of you from that part of the world, where Winwood attended the Great Bar School, one of his first comprehensive schools, they say. He also attended the Birmingham and Midland Institute of Music to develop his skills as a pianist, but did not complete his course. Supposedly during this time, he befriended future Fleetwood Mac member Christine McVie. Interesting. And at 8 years of age, he actually first performed with his father and elder brother, they called Muff, in the Ron Atkinson band. And it said here that Muff Winwood, his brother, later recalled when Steve began playing regularly with him and his father in licensed pubs and clubs, they had to turn the piano around with his back to the audience to try to hide him because he was obviously, they said, underage. That's funny. And according to what was written about his songwriting, Winwood has spoken very little, but they said publicly, about the origin or meaning of his songs he has written. He has said that, quote unquote, when I write a song, I don't like to have to explain it afterwards. To me, it's like telling a joke and then having to explain it. The explanation doesn't add to the song at all. So he just stays mum, which is, I hear a lot of other songwriters, singers do that because they're smart. They write a song which has a special meaning to them, but to a listener, a fan, whoever, they might find something else from it. And so for them to say this is what it means, it might kind of take away from someone's meaning of what they thought the song was about. So he keeps mum about that. Personally, between 1978 and 1986, he was married to a Nicole Weir. They divorced back on 2005, and she apparently had helped with the background vocals to some of his early solo work. They married at Cheltenham Register Office back in the day, and Winwood's primary residence is a 300-year-old manor house in the Cotswold, England, where he also has a recording studio. I can't imagine a 300-year-old home. He also has a home in Nashville, Tennessee, with his wife, currently Eugenia Crafton, a Trenton, Tennessee native who he married back in 1987 and has 4 children with her. Let's see here. Actually, interesting. Wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. It says here he was married in 1987 with Eugenia, but then, he was married to Nicole Weir, but they didn't divorce till 2005. Interesting. Okay, doesn't add up. I digress. So he has 4 children with Nashville native Eugenia Crafton. And in 2011, one of his daughters, Mary Claire, they say, married Ben Elliott, a later co-chairman of the Conservative Party between July 2019 through September 22nd. The couple has 2 sons as well. And then the other daughter of their 4 children, Lily, is also a singer. She was actually featured with Steve Winwood performing a duet of his Higher Love in a Hershey's video, but it was stripped down. Really, really nice. If you look it up on YouTube, you'll get to see the commercial and hear them sing, and she also explains how it came about. She was also the opening act and was a backing singer for her father's 2018 Greatest Hits live tour. So let's get back to the song. It was written by Winwood, Will Jennings, and produced by Russ Titelman and Winwood. So I looked up Russ Titelman because I've seen his name before. He was born back on August 16th, 1944 in L.A. He is an American record producer and songwriter. He has won 3 Grammy Awards to date, one of them being producing Steve Winwood's song, the one we're talking about today, Higher Love, and in his second and third for Eric Clapton's Journeyman and Unplugged albums, respectively. Titelman also produced Clapton's 24 Nights live album of 1990 and the All Blues album From the Cradle released in 1994. So having that Russ Titelman definitely helped with getting, this beautiful song to us as we know now today. All right, Higher Live, how did it do? Well, I said earlier, it was Winwood's first Billboard Hot 100 #1 song, topping the chart for 1 week beginning August 30th, 1986. And that's how I remember it when I was a mere 14. Higher Love spent 4 weeks atop the U.S. Billboard Album Rock Tracks chart and earned 2 Grammy Awards for Record of the Year and Best Male Pop Vocal Performance. It also peaked number 13 in the UK, which is Winwood's highest charting solo entry there, and reached #1 in Canada for a week. So interestingly enough, in the US and Canada, it hit #1. in the UK, where he's from, it made it in the top 20, but did not hit #1. And it said here, here's where I'm going to get kind of geeky with some of you guys that love the engineering part of music. Music engineer by the name of Tom Lord Alge had suggested moving one of John J.R. Robinson's impromptu drum fills to the beginning of Higher Love. That's why you hear it. And by assigning a timing offset to one of 2 tape machines, such that they first play the drum fill followed by the song coming in on the beat. Tillman was happy, who was the producer, with the result, and decided to open the album with this drum fill. And apparently JR used the Latin rim shot technique across the top of his classic seamless brass Ludwig Black Beauty snare, unmuffled, with his snare wires disengaged to emulate the sound of a timbale. He said, quote unquote, "It's one of the best drum intros I've ever played." And the producer Russ also remembered the fill being played ad-lib by JR, while his friend Chaka Khan, was prepared to sing her background vocals on Higher Love, causing Chaka Khan to exclaim, quote unquote, "What is this shit? It sounds like voodoo shit. I love it." And this is how it all came to be. And that's why Chaka Khan, you'll see in the video, is in the video. One of the things I want to get to before we talk about the music videos, who covered it? So apparently Whitney Houston covered it in 1990. It was included as a bonus track on her Japanese edition of her 3rd studio album, I'm Your Baby Tonight. Did not know that. And in 2016, I had said Winwood's daughter, obviously Lily, did a duet with her dad for the Hershey commercial. And here's another thing. This is how much there's life to this song. Norwegian DJ Kygo reworked Houston's cover from 1990 into a tropical house track in 2019, which was released as a single worldwide and hit #1 on the Billboard magazine's Dance Club Songs chart, making it Houston's highest charting posthumous release to date. So because of it, it also helped her career still when she passed on. Music video, have you seen it? I haven't seen it since 1986. Has a lot of back and forth with dancers, black and white. Shows Steve Winwood and all the 90s or 80s glory of the tie and shirt. But I didn't realize Chaka Khan was in it. She's singing backup on the chorus, as well as Nile Rodgers, who plays guitar with the backing band. So lots of heavy hitters in this music video. And apparently the music video for the song uses the shorter single version and was shot back on June of 1986 by directors Peter Kagan and Paula Grief. And just did you know, Kagan and Grief shot an almost identical video, so look it up, for Duran Duran's Notorious in November of that same year. So coincidentally, they kind of look the same. Both videos were also nominated for several awards at the 1987 MTV Video Music Awards, but neither won. So I thought that was interesting. So lots to learn here of how awesome Steve Winwood is. I had no idea until as an adult now. How a cover of this song also brought Whitney Houston to #1 even past her passing. And I love that the daughter Lily did a duet with her father and stripped down version, and it did well in its own right. So if you have any great suggestions like this misheard song lyric, please send it to any of our social media sites like Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, or just send me an old-fashioned email at misheard, that's MISSHEARD songs @gmail.com. Till then, keep singing those songs wrong. Bye!